So we're just going to install the twist part of the twist lock, the bit that twists through, and it often is installed onto the exterior of the bag, and whether or not that's been interfaced or not will depend on the pattern. So this is a piece of vinyl, but I'm still have put a layer of, this is just a layer of Decavil that I've fused to the back of this vinyl, and that's just going to give us a lot more stability for this to be installed into, because as you can imagine, if the purse is overfilled and it's constantly pulling on that, it could eventually pull through your fabric here. So I'm just going to mark this. So you need to kind of center this and then mark where the prongs are going to go through, about there. And then you just need to cut a small opening, just a very small slit. And obviously we want to be very, very careful because we do not want to go through and just trash the whole, put a tear all the way through it, because that would make us cry. And then we're just going to put these, I just need a slightly bigger hole. Okay. Put the prongs through like so. So that's how that's going to sit on that side. And then on the back, we're just going to put the washer on. So the washer has a number of holes. So they just pop these washers out in the factory, and they're meant to work on many, many different sizes of twist lock, which is why it may not be the outer holes that work. So I find this one here, you need an outer and an inner hole, and that seems to fit the best. Like that. And then we're just going to push those prongs over. And then I just like to give a little tap with a hammer, not a big tap, just enough to push those prongs down flat. You see they're quite nice and flat. And then depending on what's going to be on the other side, so you might have foam or just another layer of interfacing or an interface lining. You do not want this all to rub through with constant friction of using the purse or the bag. So I would recommend getting another piece of Decavil, whether it's maybe even Decavil light, and fusing it to that, over the top of that, just to protect the inside of your bag. You can then just do a little row of stitching all the way around that, like as a square, and that will just hold all of those pieces nice and secure, and that should not have any chance of tearing through just your vinyl or your fabric. So that is that part nicely installed. So the next step is to install the hole section of our twist lock. You're going to need a small Phillips head screwdriver, a hammer, and if you have some hole punches, they can help. So I'll just do this on the lining side. So this has a layer of vinyl, waterproof canvas, and soft and stable. So we've got a nice amount for the twist lock to sit into, because if you look at these ones, they have this channel which needs to be filled with fabric. If your fabric is not going to fill that hole, you're going to have to build it up with like a layer of Peltex or Decavil to give the lock something to bite into and to hold it nice and secure. So I've marked the center point here. So I'm just going to take the backing plate, which is this one here. I'm just going to mark the holes. So we need to cut out all of this section so that this works. You need a nice stable base to do this on, otherwise it's just not going to cut through. And if you're using a punch like this, they do work best with vinyls and stuff rather than fabric. Okay, I'm going to hammer, and I will put the volume down when I hammer so that you don't lose your eardrums. So that's the hole cut, the main hole. And then we're going to use the small hole punch to cut the screw holes. Like so. So we put the front bit on, and then turn to the back. You can see we've got holes where all of those parts come through. At this point, if you want, you can put some glue in so that you know this is never going to come out. I'm just doing a sample, so I won't. And then you put the backing plate on and you put the screws in and you screw them in. Oops. They're very tiny screws, but they do go in. So also inside the screw hole you can put some glue or some Loctite, because that will help stop those screws coming unscrewed with use, as screws tend to do sometimes. And that is the hole punched and installed. And that's our completed twist lock.